B. Thank you, Greg. Just making sure everybody gets in who wants to. All right, well, welcome to the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County for our monthly meeting for March 13th. I'm Jamie Tarn, and the president of the Fire Safe Council. And we start off with a welcome. And so I'll just kind of point to you and have you introduce yourself and just say who you are. And if you're with an agency, if you're not, you're just yourself, that's great too. So Giselle?
I'm Giselle Nova. I'm the coordinator for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
Patty?
Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Grantham. I'm the Siskiyou Prescribed Burn Association coordinator.
All right. And Nina?
Hi, everybody. Nina Kaniram here from CORE, working as CORE's California area manager and kicking off the Community Wildfire Defense Grant with the Fire Safe Council.
All right. Duria?
Oh, I'm Duria Sayed, and I'm from California Department of Insurance, and I work as an outreach analyst for the Northern California team.
Thank you. Mike?
Hello, this is Mike Hentz from Happy Camp. I work with the, oh, sorry, maybe I'm jumping
No,
off.
it's fine. Go ahead, Mike. Mike
Yeah,
Hentz, go
so
ahead.
I work with the Mid-Klamath Watershed Council here in Happy Camp, and happy to be on the call. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Mike Bradley.
That's funny because Mike and I went to college together.
Oh, you did.
So I'm Mike Bradley. I'm working with the Pacific Forest Trust.
All right. Thule?
Hey guys, I'm Thule Potts. I'm with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Greg?
Greg Dinger, Manchester West, volunteer for the team.
And Stephen?
Hello, my name is Stephen Decatur. I'm the new hazard mitigation planner with the city of Dunsmuir.
Great. Brian?
Brian Schnody, Siskiyou County OES. Choking on an almond right now, but I'll be all right.
Oh.
All right. And let me see who I'm just going through. Sorry, my screen keeps moving. Jack Singer?
Hi, Jack Singer. I work at Pacific Forest Trust. We manage the shoal timberlands around Cloud.
You, Jeremy?
Hello, everyone. Jeremy Johnson, CAL FIRE Siskiyou Unit Pre-Fire Engineer.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Hello. My name's Jennifer Erickson. I'm the Fire Prevention Officer with the Klamath National Forest.
Thanks. Matt?
Hi, everybody. Matt Gazelle, Program Manager with CORE.
Hey. Kristen? We'll move on. Kristen, sometimes with her phone, has a few issues.
Oh, sorry. I'm here.
Oh, there you.
Yep. I'm Kristen Norman. I am Giselle's administrative assistant and outreach coordinator for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. And I am en route on my way home. So sorry for the delay.
Okay. Alex?
Alex Carter, McConnell Foundation, philanthropic organization based in Reading.
Thanks. Annie Barber?
Annie Barber with United Policyholders.
Thank you. Nathan, did I get you already? No.
Nathan Johnston, I'm the facilitator with the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative.
Thank you. Madeline?
Madeline Lavaji, resident of Quartz Valley.
Thanks. George?
George Jennings, I'm with the Executive Director of ORCAL Resource Conservation and Development Council, and also since 2003 with the Wairika Area Fire Safe Council.
Carolyn?
I'm Carolyn Napper. I'm recently on the Fire Safe Council Board of Directors.
And we appreciate it. And then I have so many, I don't have a name. Sorry.
Is that
Might
the
be me,
iPad?
sorry. Oh, hi. I need to learn how to add my name. My name's Marushka. I just joined the Hammond Ranch Board, Landowners Association
How do you
Board.
spell your
and
name, Marushka?
M-A-H. I'm gonna try to add it later. MAHROUSHKA. And I told the board that I would try to listen in on these calls monthly to have some sort of presence. I'm
Great.
learning how things work up in Siskiyou County because we're new to there. So,
well, welcome.
Thank you. Oh, and I listened in on last month's call. I mean, not in person, but I just listened to the recording and reported back to the board. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. All right. Well, now that we're through with introductions, 2 people entered the waiting room. Okay. We will move on and finalize the agenda. As always, we try to be flexible, but we will give Duria a chance to answer some questions that came up at our last meeting.
So, hi everyone. So good to be here. Hello, Annie. I just had a town hall with Annie, not a town hall, a presentation a few weeks ago. So just wanted to clarify before I was leaving the meeting last month. There was a question about Firewise, that Firewise communities will always be part of our Safer from Wildfires regulation, which is the option, which is the discount that insurance companies will be required to give for the community, community fire mitigation. So I just wanted to say that, clarify that according to the regulation, the Safer from Wildfires regulation code of regulation Title 10, Section 2644.9, specifically names Firewise USA sites in good standing and fire risk reduction communities as eligible for community level discounts on insurance premiums. And what I will do today is that I will put the link to our webpage where you can read the whole regulation. Also, there was a question, I think somebody asked about IBHS, which is the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety. And I will also put that under the regulation, IBHS will probably fit under the optional factor, which will be on regulation page 5. And if you scroll down, it will be number 7 on that. So I'm going to put both the links in the chat today. Also, I want to say a little bit sad, not that much, but I will be one of my colleagues, Lisa Strange, my manager, and a really nice person, she will be doing the Siskiyou Fire Safe Council, and we will be tag teaming once in a while, but she will come probably and we'll schedule it with Giselle. If in April or May, she can come and present to you our sustainable insurance strategy program. And that will be a neat thing to hear of all the progress and things department is doing for the Safer from Wildfires and wildfire mitigation. So just wanted to come and say that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that.
Thank
update.
you for having me.
All right, we'll move on into our scheduled guest speakers then, and we'll start with Mike Bradley of Pacific Forest Trust. So Mike, you are on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'll start with a little bit of my background. I recently retired a couple years ago now from CAL FIRE as the Northern Region Chief, so I was responsible for half the state. And I do a little bit of teaching incident command system internationally. Been to a few countries and going to 2 or 3 more this year. And then I also do a little bit of fire code interpretation and evacuation planning for cities and counties and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of my background. I'm going to attempt to share my screen and uh-oh. Hold on, bear with me here. Okay, let me try this again. Huh.
Did Giselle give you that capability?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, I'm not sure which one you can see. Up here?
Yeah, Siskiyou
Yeah.
County Fire Safe Council, March 2024.
Looks
Okay.
good.
Okay. You can probably see the slides on the left too. Okay. Hey, so that's my contact email right now for the Pacific Forest Trust. I'm working with the Pacific Forest Trust on a wildfire resilience initiative that's funded by the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. The first round of grant period was about 5 months. And really that entailed doing some outreach to as many partners as possible in Siskiyou County and some of the surrounding Huck 8 watersheds. And then also putting together some geospatial data for Siskiyou County in particular, looking at modeling opportunities for different variations in climate change into the future, habitat, species migration, all those kinds of things. And then looking at linking some of those projects that have been done in the county together based on some climate data. So let's get started here. This is just a basic ownership map of Siskiyou County. Obviously, the Forest Service has about a little over 60% of the land in Siskiyou County. So large landowner, other large landowners owned several acreage, a lot of acreage, and then BLM is a little bit less. And here's some of our data. This is some of the information we've gained mostly from public information and public data from the Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and other NGOs that have geospatial data already available. And a guy named Arian Denow in San Francisco kind of put this together for us. And I'll talk a little bit about some of these treatments. And what we're really looking for is what is the condition on the landscape that would lend itself more to fire resiliency and enable beneficial, enable a condition for beneficial fire to reduce the vulnerability of extreme fire, extreme wildfire for the benefit of the ecosystem and communities. So that's you can see here some of the beneficial fire is in the red, and then the dark red is high severity wildfire. And we'll get to some numbers here pretty soon. And then more spotty information on harvest and mechanical fuels reduction. Whoops. This slide here it shows a little bit of a study that was done for the Wildlife Conservation Board by Pacific Forest Trust and our modeler, James Thorne, down at UC Davis. As you can see here, you see some background data. This isn't for Siskiyou County. There's a little bite of Siskiyou County here, but it was done for another project. What we'd like to do is expand this for all of Siskiyou County so we can see how things look into the future based on some of this modeling. As you can see over here, the lower emissions RCP5, which is representative concentration pathways of 4.5. That's like basic in 2100. That's what the landscape will look like with future technological advances to slow climate change. The higher emissions, RCP 8.5, seems like where we're headed now. The darker areas here, the red and dark areas, are areas that probably won't have the same vegetation that they have today, just based on some of these inputs. And it is a model, so it's probably a little bit incorrect, but it does show up in the same spots on both higher emissions and lower emissions. So these are areas that even if we did some type of treatments that we wanted to last for a long time, we need to think about if they're going to be there, if those particular species are going to be there in the first place in the long run. So maybe some of these bluer areas, take a look at those. What is there now? Can we save those in the long term, and perhaps put some projects there or use that as an indicator for prioritization? So it's something we're thinking about. This is just a close-up of a lava fire. I'm sure people have seen this ravage data. Forest Service does a fantastic job of showing high severity fire, which is this kind of brownish red, I guess, color. And then the red is, low to moderate fire. And you can see how the fire moves through the landscape and, what were the conditions at the time when it was high intensity or low to moderate, those types of things. You can see the mill fire over here on the left side of that. It doesn't have ravage data, and that's something we'd like to work on as well. Is how can we expand this great technology to other fires that aren't mapped right now? And there's several criteria to get ravage data. It has to be 1,000 acres or more, et cetera, et cetera. But knowing the condition of the land after a fire is extremely important. And as you can see, the distance between these two isn't that great. And there's been some work on the road to do some mechanical fuel reduction along the road. But if we could link these two together, maybe we could save a fire from going in that direction from a start here. Those are the types of projects that we'd like to link together, or at least get consensus with some of the partners on, maybe that's a good thing to do. The summary of the findings here, this is 10 years worth of data. So I recognize that some of the data is maybe a little skewed here, but what that map that I showed earlier shows is about 975,000 acres, or 24% of the county, has been in beneficial fire. High severity, about a third of that, and so on. You'll see this beneficial fire intentional as 263,000 acres. And those of us who have been here for 10 years, that's a lot of acreage. About 144,000 acres of that is pile burning. So we have grouped some things together in this initial phase that we might have to tease out later. Harvest is about 231,000, and obviously that those numbers are from various harvest types. It's from even aged, uneven aged, and salvage and things like that. Some of these numbers do overlap because, for instance, reforestation isn't 106,000 acres on its own. Part of this harvest has to have reforestation, and that's the portion of that. So we are looking at the background data and trying to make sense of these numbers as well. I put this slide in here for what is beneficial fire, because it's the biggest treatment on the landscape. whether it's a treatment or not. It's the greatest condition change. So it is low to moderate severity on the ravage data. And then intentional is prescribed burning, broadcast burning, underburn, and pile burning. So we'll talk about some of the limitations of those numbers in a second. This is just a graphical representation. You can see what the highest number of acres are and why. Acres treated over time. You can see this runs out a little bit because there are some planned projects that haven't been implemented, or they're still in the planning phase, and we put those in there because we want to see what the future is going to look like and how we're going to get there. Obviously, wildfire is the largest condition change on the landscape. This graphic here, the median cost per acre, difficult to get good numbers. There have been several projects. Everybody has, excuse me, everybody has different data, and the websites or the public data that we mine to get some of these numbers, some aren't, it's not contained in the right place, or it's incorrectly valued. Lots of different things. So trying to get some estimate of how we could actually link projects together and some kind of cost estimate is a little bit difficult, but more and more projects are being done and actual costs are being recorded. So there's hope for the future. And here's some of the background data that we put in there to get our numbers. And here are some of the limitations of the kind of the background study that we're doing in these first 5 months. We're missing some data, and mostly planned projects from individual units and forests and other organizations, if they even want to give it to us. So there's that. And sometimes it lacks attributes of interest. So there'll be project acres, but not necessarily years of project completion and precise activity descriptions, things like that. So it's hard for us to lump it into anything. And that's just an observation. Nobody has to do anything different. The imprecise data, as you can see, is the project versus activity. For instance, the pile burning, it will show 10,000 acres, but the pile burning is only conducted on, maybe 1,000 acres. It depends on what the activity shows, but not necessarily in the water courses that are included in the major area. And then potentially too low of cost estimates based solely on a few data points, which I alluded to earlier, and difficult to interpret time data because the project was approved, and then as it moves forward through time, when it is done and the year is completed. And then data is not consistent between projects. Even the same reporting mechanisms that are found in the public data don't have the same attributes recorded. So there's a lot of missing data that we've noticed out there in the data. So that's kind of the project that Pacific Forest Trust is working on. Looking forward, we're looking to hire an applied ecologist to help us with the landscape level interpretation of the data and how to link projects together in a meaningful way, and then do more outreach with landowners involved and the Fire Safe Council and the NGOs and all those necessary to get meaningful change in wildfire resilience in Siskiyou County. So I'll stop sharing now and either take questions or wait until, I'm so glad I went before Nathan, because he's a brilliant speaker. And, so do you want to wait, Giselle, for questions later?
I'm just I'm looking, Mike, now to see for hands up or
Oh, okay,
anybody
Jamie. Yeah.
has anything.
Hey, Jamie, I got my hand up. It's
Okay,
Nina.
go ahead, Nina.
Awesome, thank you. Back on one of your slides, you were talking about the emissions totals that you had, and I was just wondering, was that only from the wildfires, like CO2 emissions, or did it include everything else in it, all the other
No.
GHGs?
Yeah, that includes everything.
Okay.
That's the global climate modeling 4.5 and 8.5.
Okay.
So that was
So-
just that was included in several different variables that were measured, including species, tree species, vegetation species, 232 avian species, and it runs the gamut.
Everything.
But the one I showed you was specifically for vegetation.
Got it. Thank you.
Mike Hentz, you have your question up?
Hey, Mike, thank you so much. I just want to say it goes without saying that the Creek tribe down here in the Mid-Klamath is paramount in the concept of reinstituting fire for beneficial purposes. And of course, they'll be a key partner to all of us in these projects. But I just want to say thank you, Mike, for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. I can tell you, Mike, one of the frustrations through the years with the Fire Safe Council, especially when we did our first community CWPP, Community Wildfire Protection Plan, was trying to get the same kind of information that you're trying to get. And then for us at the time, it was also when we got it, where do we store it without having the capabilities for storage. And I know through the years we have done different things and stuff. So this can be really useful if it can be put all in the same format and same usable place and accessible to everyone. But I share your frustration with not knowing the years a project was started or when it was finished, but especially when it was finished, because you can have multiple people over several years working on one project and you may get the start date, but then the 3 people down the road don't necessarily record it the same. So
right.
I think that's a very common issue. I
Yeah.
think I would imagine everywhere is the same thing.
Yeah, and another thing we're going to look into is some NASA data for satellite recognition and some artificial intelligence and machine learning to interpret some of the condition change specifically here, so we can understand the overall condition of the landscape, so we don't duplicate efforts and we can see changes in the landscape over time. So it's not this constant, like you said, like updating of data. It would be more ongoing.
And your mapping system is large. I mean, it was covering the whole county plus, so it's hard to get down into the details, but because I couldn't see just from looking at your map. I know the thousands of acres that were done in prescribed fire for beneficial reasons, but you would never see them on the map the way it is there. So
right.
Depending on how far back you go, too. If you're just looking from today forward, from information we have now to day forward, or if you go back 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, to look at it, because of course, then if you go back 50 years and you have treatment, then what is there now is not what is the same as it was treated 50 years ago.
Right. I think Alex has a question.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, that NASA data would be cool because some of that, as you know, Mike, probably some of that moderate severity, borders on high severity or beneficial, and it's where that line is pretty blurry on terms of tree mortality due to wildfire and some of these conditions. So yeah, it'd be cool to learn more about that.
Yeah, and if it would give us a better idea of really how much of the landscape we need to treat or not. So any finer grain detail we can get on that ravage type data is going to benefit all of us.
All right, well, unless we have another question, I want to thank you, Mike, for presenting this tonight and sharing your information, and look forward to having you back as it progresses.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, and if anybody has questions later on, you can put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get them to Mike. Okay, so we'll move on then to Nathan, the lead facilitator for the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative. And I understand a great speaker.
I know this is a problem. I'm going to stumble over my words for the next 10 minutes for sure. And I don't even have slides to rely on. So here we go. Well, it's really cool to have this chance to talk about the Climate Collaborative. This is work you may have heard about. It's been slow to roll out, as is the nature of collaborative work, as you all are very much aware. But let me just, I'll try to describe what the Regional Climate Collaboratives initiative is from the state, and then talk about our collaborative and what we're up to and when and where, really. And then really end with an invitation for you to get involved, because this work is, it's all about accessing folks like you and bringing your ideas to the table and your involvement. So the Strategic Growth Council at the state of California launched an initiative called the Regional Climate Collaboratives. This was a couple of years ago. A request for proposal went out, and a group of partners from Siskiyou, which included the Karuk Tribe, Department of Natural Resources, Shasta Valley, RCD, the Smart Workforce Development Center out of Redding that is now active in Siskiyou, UC Davis Ag Extension, the Siskiyou Outdoor Recreation Alliance, and the Siskiyou Economic Development Council all started to put heads together and kind of frankly meet for the first time in these, this was toward the end of COVID. And so it was all on Zoom. And it was cool to just see this group of people from very different sectors across our county trying to hash out kind of what was in common, what were some shared challenges that we might articulate in a proposal. And frankly, a first little side note is, I also do some philanthropy consulting, and it was really neat to see, frankly, like a request for funding lead to just a beneficial process where everyone involved was able to articulate, even if we don't get funded, thank goodness we've participated in this. It's like what actually a cool experience. Who can say that really at the end of a grant writing cycle? So thankfully we were awarded, and the Regional Climate Collaboratives program exists in a pretty cool space. At least I think it's, for sure, it's about creating actionable plans and projects related to climate, but it's very much just as much about creating a social infrastructure. So building relationships cross-sector for the benefit of cross-sector plans and programs, an area that I think is ripe for action and activity across Siskiyou. The Regional Climate Collaboratives project really centers community engagement and community decision making. So less of a kind of top down, we know what we're trying to do, and more like bring everyone together, do deep listening sessions, identify patterns, build new connections, and see what's needed. So, with those kind of broad RCC goals, the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative, which is what we're calling our awarded program, it's a $1.2 million project over 3 years. The structure of our work reflects kind of what I just described as the goals of the program. Maybe half of the activity is built around community engagement And that might look like one-on-one listening sessions with one of those 6 partners that I described, or myself as facilitator. Or it could look like community meetings, or it could look like focus groups that folks like you think should exist. Or it could look like you emailing me saying you've really wanted to get to know group X, and literally I'm buying the food, getting us together in someone's backyard, and doing that like initial relationship building work. So that's more on the social infrastructure side. The flip side, though, is some outcomes of the work. About a year from now, we would be on the hook for having drafted a climate resiliency plan for Siskiyou County. It's it's allowed to. It's kind of by design that we don't know what that looks like yet. We don't have the outline for what that resiliency plan will contain. That is the point of some of the listening work, is to identify key vulnerabilities, stories of adaptations that have worked. We're really interested in Mike's work and what Pacific Forest Trust is doing. We would love to come alongside a lot of that, as well as the Cal OES Jumpstart work going on, on throughout the county, and all the Fire Safe Council, all the projects that are underway. So, there's so much good work going on, and we hope to be, I think the piece that I'm hoping that we're filling is this kind of like social connectivity, identifying shared needs, and identifying collaboratives that don't yet exist, that could exist. So that's in this layer of this climate resiliency plan, which we would hope would articulate many of those things I just described. And then also the development of a technical assistance network. So coming out of the identification of shared and unmet needs, the program actually has funding to allow for the development of a technical assistance bench that's really tailored to Siskiyou climate program project challenges. So that could be grant writing support. That could be, something that was just brought up, like data infrastructure needs. So it could be, GIS systems to shared GIS data storage. It could be, grant writing. It could be capacity evaluation type work. It could just look like the question really that'll animate this is, what's that bench of consultants that we all wish we could just call on? What do we not have in-house? And certainly already, even in our listening work, we're hearing some of those stories, right? There's the obvious ones of no one has the capacity to write the grants. Some don't have the capacity to do the financial reporting. There's legal issues. There's a lot of things that are potentially in the way of doing good collaborative work. Something that I love that the Strategic Growth Council described in one of our meetings is, because as you all are aware, collaborative grant applications are very much the thing right now. We're all being encouraged to not come alone, but come with friends when we're writing these applications. And SGC, they not so delicately put, like, we really want to protect against shotgun weddings. It's something that they're seeing certainly at the state level, where you have these collaboratives form strategically just around a grant application, and then when the grant either doesn't come through or comes through, but then the funds are expended and the project's over, the kind of collaboration disbands, and you're really in a way that undermines long-term trust and relationship building. That my personal soapbox is like, that's the stuff we're going to need to lean more and more on, is being able to pick up the phone and call someone at an organization because you've built an authentic relationship. So that's certainly one of the pillars that we're working on. In terms of approach, I will just say, doing like county-wide climate work is obviously ripe for opportunities of disagreement and parsing of terms. And so the approach we've taken so far is a storytelling, story-driven approach, like to identify shared values, things that we all care about, things that we can certainly declare that we want to work toward. So you'll, as we get further into the work and have more community sessions, you'll see some of that pattern play out. In terms of activities so far, so we've been engaging in, or at least I have, in some deep listening sessions throughout the county, starting so far mostly at the level of jurisdiction. So whether that's from Tule Lake to Dunsmuir to some work in Happy Camp to along the I-5 corridor. And we did hold a community meeting maybe it was October, November, down in Dunsmuir that brought together 50 or 70 folks, again, cross-sector, and kind of a meet and greet, but also a working session to start to put some flesh on the bones of unmet needs. And I will just say, anecdotally from that engagement, it was pretty cool to see, for example, at the end when, we told everyone to go home and there was just a lot of pockets around the room of folks that were still talking. One example was a representative from a land trust and a representative from an ag organization sitting down at a table with someone from one of our state representatives' offices, just talking about like, hey, let's all be clear that this one piece of legislation had this unintended consequence when we're starting to look at like long-term preservation of agricultural lands and working landscapes. And it's, I think it's just important to recognize that these spaces that we create where authentic connection is possible sometimes create openings for new kinds of conversations that are, it's frankly a very efficient way to work when you can just talk to people instead of going through long processes. So yeah, I think you will, our intention is that you'll start to hear from us a lot more. Our partner group is tasked with coming up with the structure of our community engagement, the initial outline of how we hope the climate resiliency plan will look, and then the technical assistance work. But very soon we'll be reaching out for another community meeting, and I'd love to include everyone on this call as invitations there. And certainly, even at this stage, the community listening work is proceeding just kind of in parallel. So if either you or your organization would be willing to share your perspective on climate vulnerability, climate adaptations that you're aware of, projects and patterns you've seen that are successful, or you have an idea for kind of a cross-sector conversation, I am all ears for that. And I would love to be put in touch, and I'll travel anywhere, at least within Siskiyou and happily beyond. So that's a brief overview. I would love to hear if there's any questions on where we're at. I'm sorry, we're early in the project and don't have a ton of data to put on the board. We don't have a nice presentation like Mike. Mike, we should combine our skills, I guess, although you spoke great. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Thank you again for the chance to describe the Climate Collaborative.
I guess it was, sorry, I'm not sure how many people are actually on your group, your board, your committee, because you listed off a lot of agencies and groups. Are they all involved?
Yeah, so there's representatives from the 6 partners. So it's Rod Douse from Shasta Valley RCD, Grace Woodmansey from the UC Davis Ag Extension, Justy Hansen from SORA, the Recreation Alliance, Wendy Zanatelli, who's the CEO of the Smart Workforce Development Center, Corey Hayden from Siskiyou EDC, and Neva Gibbons, who's the Deputy Director of the Karuk Department of Natural Resources. So those are the stated 6 partners that were included in that application, and their organizations kind of come along for the ride. But the proposed structure that, hasn't quite been solidified yet is that then the Climate Collaborative would really be a membership that is completely open to all organizations in the county. So all members, you'd be committing to essentially be a collaborative partner in defining these climate adaptation and climate resiliency planning work.
Okay, and I understand that you're early in the process and you're developing what this is going to look like, but is there other examples in close by areas that have done something similar, or are you really inventing it as you go along, or do you have help along the way?
Yeah, the grant certainly comes with a lot of technical assistance from the state for our collaborative. So we are defining, those various chunks, like the community engagement plan. How exactly do we want to structure these conversations? What does it mean to create connections in a politically fraught, like geographically dispersed county, right? These are challenges that we all face. So we're not doing it all alone, certainly, but it's yeah, we are given a lot of freedom to kind of like work our way through that. There are other collaboratives, so there is a peer learning element to this work. We're connected with all the other collaboratives, but frankly, it is new work in the state. This was round one of this program. So there's not a lot to go on in that sense. We're also making ourselves students of other climate resiliency plans that other counties, cities, other jurisdictions have developed. Certainly the Karuk tribe, I mean, very early on, it's like, they developed a climate resiliency plan 15 or 20 years ago. And, it's great work that everyone in the county should be aware of as like a really cool model. So we're trying to build on what's already been developed in county, but also looking elsewhere.
Thanks. Do I have any other questions?
Is that Karuk plan available to view? Is it on a website or?
Yeah. If you, I could send that along. But I believe I ended up finding it just poking around the Karuk tribe's website. I think in the Department of Natural Resources, they have a climate adaptation plan that I believe is out there public, as well as a resiliency plan.
Okay, Nina has her hand up for you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much. Nathan, it's actually really nice to hear some of the back story of that Regional Resilience Collaborative. Yeah, it was something that we looked at 2 years ago too, and I was like, I don't think we're ready for this yet. And I see there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of probably negotiations and scope and roles and responsibilities and all that stuff to iron out. Question: does you said that the Strategic Growth Council and OPR provides a lot of technical assistance? Are you talking about post-award?
Yes, I think they may have provided some pre-award assistance too for developing the application. I wasn't involved in that part. The Siskiyou EDC really kind of quarterbacked the application process.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, but this is all what I was referring to as post-award, stuff that's
Okay.
available to us now as a collaborative.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there any opportunities or maybe future thinking about adding like extreme weather and disaster resilience to the work you're doing? I mean, obviously there's some mitigation and adaptation that falls into that, but from like a true sort of like preparedness standpoint, do you guys have any thoughts or ideas about including that?
I think it's a great idea. I would certainly put it on the list for, one of these community meetings to flesh out what we mean by that and, and really include it as an element of the plan. I mean, that's what's cool about this. Like, we will be looking to the community to define this, and it's supposed to, not be a top-down approach.
Terrific. Well, that is one of our sweet spots here at CORE. So
Yeah.
definitely we can touch base at a later time. We're also on the cusp of, fingers crossed, partnering with the SEDC on a grant proposal we just submitted. So it would be wonderful if all of those things came together. But either way, we'd love to talk with you, Nathan.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, we'll follow up. Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.
All right, Alex has his hand up for you.
Yeah, Nathan, thanks for doing the climate resiliency thing. I sit on California Jobs First subcommittees, and that's like an area from, just so people know, from like Sacramento to the Oregon border. And it's a very difficult process to like align and collaborate different groups based on this topic. So anyways, I just want to say thanks for kind of corralling all of us to get on the same page. So I know the work in progress, but good job and appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think Jobs First is a great example of, one of these, it's a funding stream that's going to come and go. And yet we also have an opportunity to leave behind a tighter level of community connection so that the next round, we're able to start from a couple steps further along than we did this time. I'm trying to pay attention to that work too, and thank you for all you're doing.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, hey Nathan, it's Brian Shinoni, OES director for the county. I love it. So I think it's definitely what you're sharing and what needs to be done in the county. We're working on some things, so I would love to collaborate with you and sit down and talk about this over coffee if you have a chance. So I threw my email in the chat, so reach out. It'd be great.
Perfect. One of my superpowers is being able to drink an unlimited amount of coffee. So let's do that.
Mine too.
That sounds amazing. Great. We'll go toe to toe. It's going to be awesome. We'll document it.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to say. If Nathan, you can just put your contact info in the chat for anyone who wants to get in touch with you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Will do.
All right, if we don't have any more questions or comments, thank you for joining us tonight, Nathan. I really appreciate it and look forward to seeing how this goes in the future, and we can work with you in any way you see that would be fitting.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate the chance to chat.
All right, we'll see you again. All right, move on. And I see that Clint is on our schedule again for this evening and is not available. But I will ask Jennifer if she's sitting in for Clint tonight or not. Can't
You're
hear.
muted.
Poor Jennifer's trying her best, I imagine, out there. And
Okay, how about now?
Now you're fine.
gotcha.
Now, test
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Man, I am so sorry. I'd go back and forth between my AirPods and the computer. So I did talk to Clint before the call tonight. He didn't have a lot of updates, but the one thing he wanted me to share is that their video series for the Klamath Basin landscape has been released. It talks about, kind of education about kind of the fire ecology of the landscapes within the Klamath Basin, and the need for treatment across the landscapes, as well as, kind of talks to some of the partners out there, and it's a pretty good series. So we've started sharing it on our Facebook site last week. I think last Thursday was our first installment, and then we'll be releasing a second installment tomorrow. So check those out. They're pretty well done. That's all I've got from the landscape, though.
Do you have a link for that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Okay. So our next update will be our community wildfire defense grant, and I'll let Giselle take the lead on that if she would like to.
Oh, okay.
I can.
Well, we're moving right along. We've developed a sub-award agreement with CORE, and CORE is already interviewing and hiring some on-the-ground folks from Siskiyou County that will be doing home assessments. We've acquired a software for home assessments called Fire Aside, using an iPad, and you can go out and you can take all kinds of data and store it, and you can actually print out a prescription or for whatever land treatments you want to do there. It's going to be really good, but your information, landowner information, will be secure. It won't be given out to the world unless you want it to. So it's a really good piece of software, and we're just looking forward to and we're all developing through a grid system where we're going to first roll out these, it's going to be defensible space for 500 homes. So we're looking to areas to do that for underserved communities, and our team is busy and getting on it. Anybody have anything to add?
I'll just add that we will be doing a training session on this fireside program as soon as the Corps gets the finalization of their employees, because they will be doing the groundwork, but several of us board members and others will be also doing the training on their program. Okay, if we don't have any questions on that,
Unless Nina wants to say
yeah.
something, and
Sorry.
then George wants to ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much, Giselle and Jamie, for giving an update on the personnel. We feel really strongly about our program manager candidate. So we're just going through some of the formalities of reference checks and things like that. But it seems like it's going to be a go. So we're really excited. And I will say, and I mentioned this on last month's Zoom meeting, is that we have a hard time recruiting for these positions. And I don't think it was because of a lack of talent. I think maybe we just either weren't reaching out to the right networks or just didn't get it out in front of the right people. But I know that there was somebody, at least on this call, the work project, or somebody had mentioned, who was it that just spoke after Nathan spoke? Does anybody remember? Was somebody from the
Jennifer?
work project?
Jen?
No, not Jen.
Oh.
No.
Oh, Brian. That's
Anyway, whoever spoke about their work project or putting people to work, I'd love to talk to you as well, because we're still looking for the program coordinator position, which is basically an assistant to the program manager, but somebody that's going to be on the ground and doing a lot as well. So
I think that was Nathan with Smart Workforce. There is a
was that what it was?
There's
I think it was Alex. It was Alex saying jobs first.
Oh, yeah, that's
jobs
true.
first. That's what it was. Okay. So I will get in touch with him. Thank you.
And George, you had your hand up. You have a question?
Yeah, I did. We're doing a project called Outson Road, fuels reduction, just at the south and west end of Wairika. And the grant is our deliverable is 25, part of it is 25 homes. We're doing defensible space through that CAL FIRE wildfire grant, 25 homes. And we're wondering if we get more signups than we have funding for, if that funding could come along and finish off, the ones that are willing to have that work coming down inside of our project.
George, let's talk, because we haven't set our boundaries yet or where it's going to be. We're still prioritizing that grid that Giselle mentioned. It's kind of like a matrix. And so we're still taking input on areas that need the work. So yeah, let's talk, and we'll see what we can do. And if you're interested in this fireside and the training, we can talk about that too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if we don't have anything else on that, I will move on to CAL FIRE. I knew you're there, Jeremy. I'm looking for you.
Yeah, I'm
There you
here. Good evening, everyone. Jeremy Johnson, pre-fire engineer for the CAL FIRE Siskiyou unit, with some unit updates. So first, Kent Cunningham, who was our assistant chief of administration, took a promotion within the unit to deputy chief of operations. So he's working directly under Chief Roth and is second in command. We're going to be hiring our firefighter 1 hand crew April 1st. So there'll be some onboarding, and then they're going to get going with fuel reduction work and prepping for fire season. We're also hiring 4 DSIs that will start around the beginning of April, and they'll be tasked with completing LE 100 inspections throughout the county. And right now our goal is a 3-year cycle to get all structures within Siskiyou County in compliance with LE 100 inspections. And then an update on some of our projects we've been working on over the winter. We've completed, as of today, the Big Springs RX, which was about 300 acres that contractors have gone out and made piles. And then our resources have been burning for probably the last 2 months, I believe. And then we're going to be transitioning to the Osgood project, which is just at the north end of Wairika. There's about 640 acres total that we're going to be treating with mechanical piling, and then hand thinning and piling, and then following that up with pile burning. And then I think as the situation presents itself, we'll eventually be doing some prescribed burning in that area too, mostly in a brush component. And then just as our firefighting folks transition into spring, they'll be transitioning from, the fuel reduction work to training for fire season. End of report.
Thanks, Jeremy. Do we have any questions for Jeremy for CAL FIRE?
Jeremy, I have a question. I get this question a lot at outreach events, especially from, really engaged residents who, are frustrated with their neighbors, and whatnot. So, and just in general, they're saying, well, I haven't seen the CAL FIRE people come around for the last couple years, and I thought they were supposed to come every year, and they gave my neighbor a A+, and they shouldn't have received it, and so I just wanted to get your guidance as we start to get into outreach season here, how you would guide me to answer those questions.
So they can call the main office, which is the 842-3516 phone number, and they'll be routed to the proper people, which is typically our forestry technicians. And we can go out and do an assessment in the areas that are of concern. We don't target any one place. So if we're going to go out, we're going to do inspections around in the area, but realize that our force is only up to 6 in the summertime, and then that goes down to 2 in the wintertime. And we have a lot of structures in a very spread out area of Siskiyou County. So we're not on a 1-year cycle. It's realistically, it's more like a 3-year cycle. And that's with our full force that we get. In regards to how they do inspections, they're just following that LE 100 checklist, which is your Public Resource Code 4291. And one of the common misconceptions is people will have a neighbor who has a vacant lot, and they feel that their neighbor should do something about that vacant lot. And if there's no structure on it, we cannot enforce Public Resource Code 4291. That's probably the biggest issue that I see come up when people are calling in regards to neighboring properties. Does that kind of answer your question, Kristen?
Yes, that's great. Yeah, that's generally what I've told people, is that you guys are about, approximately on a 3-year cycle, getting to every corner of the county. And I've given them that spiel. I just wanted to make sure I was on the right track.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that the 4291 deals with just the first 100 feet of clearance around a structure. So if it's beyond that, even if there is a structure on the property, we only enforce out to 100 feet. And if there is no structure, then we can't enforce any of it.
Great. Yes, thank you. I
There may have
appreciate
a question, if I could,
Yes.
George Jennings with the Wairika Fire Safe Council. We've been
Yeah, go ahead, George.
we've been beating around the idea of, or bantering around, or kind of moving forward with the idea of what do we do around our communities when nobody's, you know, when on those fields are there, the houses may or may not be doing the work. You know, they may have a house or may not, but how do we protect our communities if there's no structure but a big brush field? Is that should be covered under some kind of county ordinance? And if that isn't happening, how do we make that happen and develop somebody to do those inspections? Because our communities are at risk every year, and it doesn't seem anything, you know, I just, you know, where are the ordinances? Where is the county on this? We really need help with this around our communities.
Yeah, I understand the frustration. Unfortunately, like I can't speak for the county. I can only speak for CAL FIRE. And you know, I think just to kind of reinforce, you know, what your Fire Safe Council and some of the other Fire Safe Councils are already doing is reaching out to the field battalion that you're within and finding those priority projects that are supported by the unit. And that's how we get some of these strategic fuel breaks to protect our communities.
Would the county fire warden have would he be able to address this, I guess, directly with the county? How do we get folks together to address this? Because if it's nobody's responsibility, there's something missing here.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you and I could sidebar and come up with some strategies to figure out how to reach a resolution.
No, I've talked in the past with Julie Titus, and she's been kind of doing some conversations in the south of the county, and how do we, you know, how some of these things can be done. But you know, if you can only do 100 feet around homes with 4291, you know, how do we get the rest of it done? And sometimes people don't want to do it, but there's so much funding right now to do some of this work. How do we, you know, get that kind of in motion? Because there's funding out there for it. It's just somebody has to be pushing on that end of it. And, you know, we just need that help politically, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, it doesn't hurt to reach out to the county as well, because that's, you know, you're talking about areas that are kind of beyond CAL FIRE's control. But I certainly think that we can have that conversation and try to figure out how we could move forward with some of these projects that would clearly be a benefit to communities during, you know, catastrophic wildfire events.
Thanks, Jeremy. We'll do that. We'll make more contacts with the county and then try to see what we can look at the ordinances and look at maybe some kind of funding for inspection, and because there's funding to do the work. It's just a matter of how do we get folks motivated and help protect their communities. Thank you.
George, we can sidebar, like he said, and I'm happy to try to connect some dots for you. But Eric, his last name starts with an H, and it's really hard to pronounce, and I'll butcher it if I try to pronounce it. But Eric, he's the head of the Truckee Fire Protection District, and we have had a meeting with him in regards to the Fireside software, and they, as far as what I've heard from anyone in, you know, the northern state area, he's really kind of like breaking the mold and like breaking ground and, you know, creating something that hasn't existed before in this department that you're speaking of. And, you know, his agency has a very nuanced relationship with CAL FIRE. And, you know, we had this whole discussion with him about, you know, the LE, you know, all of that kind of discrepancies and nitty gritty between CAL FIRE's inspections and what they're doing with their fire protection district and their, you know, fireside assessments and Firewise communities. And we did, you know, get into that. that little bit of the discussion about that county level enforcement discussion. So he was incredibly gracious, meeting with us and said, let me know, call me whenever, let's talk about whatever. He was very open book, very generous with his time and expertise. So that might be a connection to make that could shine some light. And
I think I heard that the county was
this
also, I think I also heard that the county was working on their general plan. So some of these things may be available soon to be for comment and really kind of set the tone for what the citizens want around their communities, especially when it's county, it's county property outside the city limits. How do we all add, bring a stronger team? I know the Wairika City is really on board and doing a lot of stuff in our community, but we still face that risk around our communities that really isn't, we like to see that partnership strengthened, just add some more of our county folks to getting some of these things done that can't be addressed directly by CAL FIRE. Anyway, I'll stop. Sorry.
Well, Brian has his hand up. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to address that. This is a conversation that the county has quite frequently, and it's just not as easy as passing an ordinance. There's, liberties involved and people's private property that's involved. So this is something that is addressed from not only our office, community development, environmental health, across code enforcement, across the board. But it is something that is addressed quite a lot, actually. And it's a slippery slope, and it's a delicate dance that we're working on. And the general plan will certainly address some of that. I know, me personally, one of the things, I don't love the fact that post fire and rebuild and recovery, that we're allowing people to go back to older or prior standards. Like, they should be addressed early, and we should be brought up to current fire standards. So whether it be, defensible space or sprinkler systems, whatever that looks like. But, it is addressed quite a lot throughout the county. And I'd love to sit down with everyone and we can have a discussion on this and maybe a path forward on it. We'd love to see it. So.
And I'll add to that, Brian, and for George, is that I'm hoping that this grant that we're working on right now will address some of this. It won't address it from the standpoint of enforcement, of course, but it will if we have especially vulnerable communities, in understanding that the whole county is vulnerable. But if we have especially vulnerable communities, we're still looking for input on those. Just like you were talking about earlier, George, to make sure we hit those areas that need it the most. And I think this, especially with using Fireside, this can start the process, because this way the software program works is we can visually show homeowners what needs to be done, as opposed to just a paper report. I think that's going to be a really big boon in our favor to convince people to do some of the work. And unfortunately, like Brian said, there's sensitive information, and there are some independent people who just don't want to do anything or be told anything. But I think if we keep working together, whether the county passes an extreme ordinance or not, we can all work towards education of people. And I think that's going to be our really the way in.
I was just thinking about your grant. Does your grant have in it any funding to help the county to go through their general plan and bring it up to the 2020s instead of the 1950s? Is there funding in your grant to help the county do that?
The general plan is in update right now. So we're in the beginning phase of this, Brian Shoney. General plan is in update right now. So we're on the pre-committee meetings where the department head need to meet and put in the pieces that the planners will go out and talk to the public. But as of right now, the general plan is being updated, as well as the hazard mitigation plan. So both hazard mitigation plan and general plan are both in, general plan is in full general plan revision, or being built from scratch, because it was from like the 80s. And then the hazard mitigation plan is in a full revision.
So there's an opportunity, a public opportunity for input that you guys are going out outreaching for, or is it
Absolutely.
just? Okay, yeah, that's where we,
Not
that's
there
what
yet.
we as the public need to give our voice, right? To see what they're doing and what we want them to be doing. That's our chance, I think, right now.
Absolutely, yeah, and those will be TBA. I know we have a meeting next week, and I think this is the last meeting before we start talking about public meetings.
Awesome. That's a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Brian, I'll just throw in my input. If we could incorporate somehow the CWPP into the general plan, at least have it looked at, because a lot of that work's already been done, and we're actually looking at updating our plan. It's now 4 years old, I believe, but still, it's pretty important information.
Absolutely, I know that is part of it, and then also I know that's a heavy piece. Meeting with our hazard mitigation revision plan, that was part of it as well, is integrating that in, because you've done fantastic work on that. So
Okay, thanks, Brian. All right, let's move on. I think we were at Forest Service update. Jen, you still with us?
We've lost you again, Jen.
Okay. How about now?
Now we're
Gotcha.
All right. So I have a few updates. We've been continuing to burn piles across the forest. Actually, yesterday we were out along Highway 97 on the Goose Nest in the area of Mount Hebron, and burned 150 acres of piles there. They did some more burning out that way, more on the Ball Mountain Road for about 50 acres. So sounds like things are going well out there. I anticipate they will continue to burn acres of piles when they get opportunities. So, and then, we're also kind of flopping over and starting to plan for prescribed underburning season. Today, 4 separate joint proposals were put in. The proposals were between the Forest Service and Quartz Valley, or the Klamath National Forest and Quartz Valley, the Karuk tribe and the Klamath, Pitt River, and the Klamath and the Shasta tribe and Klamath for treating WUI using bipartisan infrastructure bill monies. We're hoping to hear that response in less than a month. They're saying it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. The areas that those would be treating would be near the Quartz Valley lands, and then with the Karuk tribe would be around Happy Camp, areas around Happy Camp. Pitt River tribe would be near the Bray area, tying into that Stevens Fund project that you guys have going out that way. And then the Shasta tribe partnered with us to put in for the grant for treating WUI in the Copco area. So hoping to have some good news at the next meeting about that. The wildfire crisis strategy has, money from the Klamath Basin has been awarded to the Salmon Scott District to do some WUI work on the Bear Country project in cooperation with the Salmon River Restoration Council. We anticipate that work starting this field season. There was additional monies from the landscape that went to the Craggy project. So that's going to be used for treating 750 acres of WUI in the Craggy. And we're coordinating with our partners right now on where best to implement that. our Happy Camp district is continuing to work with the Wild Turkey Federation on planning for phase 1 of the Klamath River WUI project. That also is using wildfire crisis strategy dollars. As far as our forest leadership, Chris Sexton is our current detailed forest supervisor. Optimistically, we're thinking we will have a permanent forest supervisor in place by June. So, and then finally, I just wanted to thank this group for their support on helping us recruit folks for the Siskiyou County RAC. We have a good grip of applications that we're going to be sending in for nomination, and hopefully we'll be able to take the next steps towards really forming up that group and getting to work with the RAC money. So I
Yay! Good job, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Iraq is awesome.
It is awesome. Is that hand up for me, Madeline? Okay, that's the end of my report. I saw a hand up and I thought it was for me.
Madeline, did you have a question?
Madeline looks to be muted, so maybe she's talking and we just can't hear.
It's true.
I know how that goes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
All right. So Shasta, let me see. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Shasta Valley RCD.
I'm sorry, I just figured out how to unmute myself.
Oh, hi, Madeline.
Hi. Hey, so my question goes back to for Jennifer. She was saying that you're working to work with the tribe, and specifically, it would be on their currently owned land, not you had said around or near, but you meant on their specific land.
You're right. Thank you for asking. So for Quartz Valley, I think all of these are actually for on Forest Service land near Quartz Valley. So all of the grants would be for implementation on Forest Service land.
You're talking about the Quartz Valley Reservation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so if that's all then for Jen, we will then Shasta Valley RCD. Do we have an update?
Patty, I don't know. She's
Oh,
also
she left.
Oh.
She had to leave at 6:30.
Right, I remember. Yeah.
Orcal RCD. Are you doing that one, George?
Yes, sorry. You should mute me. So the Wairika Area Fire Safe Council, I talked a little bit about the Elson Road project, 375 acres, 25 homes. We're in the process of doing the CEQA right now. It's a CAL FIRE wildfire grant. And we're gonna a key feature of that is we're partnering with the Shasta Valley RCD and Patty Grantham is the prescribed burn representative. They're going to do 2 workshops for the folks, probably open for the public, prescribed burn workshops related to how you could maintain your fuel break afterwards or your property. But they'll be holding those. We got some funding to enable them to do that. And then we've got a couple of maintenance projects built into that. And one of those is herbivory, a friend of mine's favorite word. We're going to bring in and demonstrate maintenance using goats. And then we're going to partner with the city of Wairika, possibly in some small, maintenance using prescribed burning. We'll see how that goes. But there's a couple of, one of the requirements of the grant to have work done on your property is to attend at least one of these maintenance workshops. So folks, after the project's done, can learn how to stay after it and keep it from getting to where it is right now, where it puts their home at risk in the community. So some built-in things. I think CAL FIRE is looking for these fuel breaks to get in, but also about maintenance a lot, really integrating that into the project. So we're pretty excited about getting that going, and we'll be working on that in the next couple of years, hopefully. Those things will happen, and we'll keep you informed about that. Orcal is also working on a project, again, partnering with the Shasta Valley RCD, helping us with the CEQA and NEPA on Miller Mountain, the backside, like over by Grass Lake, 300 acres of treatment along the road that heads over toward Ball Mountain Road, and along 97 near that Vista Point. So we're pretty excited about that one. There's actually funding from Cal Fire coming in, Caltrans coming in, where near that project in 25, there looks like they have funding and plans to put an wildlife overcrossing. It'll be the first one in Siskiyou County, but it's all kind of there together with the great, the elk herds are really doing well, but so anyway, that Miller Mountain project is an NorCal project partnering with Shasta Valley RCD, working together to get things done and move the pace and scale along. And again, we're looking to great to hear from Brian Shioni and the Cal Fire unit about how we can work together to some of that that interface area that's threatening our communities really needs attention. We don't want a disaster. We want to do the pre-disaster stuff, which is what we're working on. So, and we're pretty excited about how far the city of Wairika has come in engaging in this effort. I know they got some funding to buy a curtain burner, and they're going to be doing maintenance within the city of Wairika. So a lot going on. The city's super engaged, and we've been working toward that for a long time. And now we're really kind of turned to how do we partner with the county better to protect the outside of the city. And I think every community in the county probably has that same hope. How do we keep the fire from going out from the outside in or going from inside out? So anyway, that's Wairika Fire Safe Council and NorCal Resource Conservation and Development Council update.
Thank you, George. I'll just move over the PBA because Patty's left and George covered some of it. Scott River Watershed Council, Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center. I don't think we have anybody. If I miss somebody, just stop me. Sierra Nevada Conservancy, are you here still?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie.
Hi, Julie.
Thank you guys. Let's see, a couple quick updates. The Sierra Nevada Conservancy Governing Board did award funding for 2 projects in South Siskiyou County last week. So they awarded funding for a portion of the South Fork Sacramento implementation project. That's all on Shasta Trinity National Forest lands in the upper South Fork Sacramento watershed. So Castle Lake, South Fork Sacramento region, and that's for implementation. The second project that our governing board awarded funds for is actually a larger, it's a very large planning project. So it is data analysis and vegetation assessment for the upper Sacramento, McLeod, Hit River, and Battle Creek watersheds. So it's working with 34 North and kind of trying to get better data tools, building on the work that Pacific Forest Trust is doing, the Shasta Valley RCD, and other collaboratives in the region to kind of up the availability and consistency of data across this North State region. Unfortunately, at this time, it is bound by the Sierra Nevada Conservancy jurisdiction, but we would love to see that leveraged into the rest of Siskiyou County if and when we can find funding to do that. So in combination with that funding for the data assessment and vegetation analysis is funding for development of a forest resilience and watershed collaborative in the upper Sacramento and McLeod River watersheds. So I know this is something that has been discussed over the last couple of years with a number of folks here. And so we're excited to see that there is some funding now to hopefully up those conversations, continue those conversations moving forward, build that trust in those relationships. A lot of work similar to what Nathan was talking about, working with a lot of the partners here, and just being able to scale up landscape level project prioritization, identification of high value resources, and move the needle on forest resilience work across that watershed. So that's the big news. And then secondly, we're not certain if we'll be able to run any funding programs this year. We're waiting for the state budget revision in May to see if we're projected to receive any funds to run those projects or those grant programs. So looking forward to hopefully having better news for you guys after the May revision of the state budget. But thanks, that's all for now. Any questions?
Thanks, Julie. Okay, if there's no questions, then we'll move on to Brian. Can you give us any more update than what you did with the last comment?
Oh, so nothing too exciting. We will be rolling out. You'll start seeing Sheriff and I's face on media outlets in the next few days and week for Ready Siskiyou, which will be our new warning and alerting system. So, yep, be ready for that. We'll also have two test alerts as well. So that'll be coming, and that is all I have.
Okay, great. Okay, Nancy's not here, Red Cross isn't here, and Pacific Power, NRCS, James isn't here, is he? No. Okay, and Eric Olson, air quality. Okay, we'll just keep plugging along. No sheriff and CHP, and Stevens, a funding update. Do we have anything on that?
It hasn't opened as far as I know. Jen would probably have a better handle as far as the opening of that opportunity.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh,
is Stevens funding going to be opening anytime soon?
I don't have any dates. Every time I ask our fuels folks, they haven't heard anything, but they encourage people who have ideas for projects to come to us now so we can start developing them and getting them ready for when that opportunity comes open again. And just a reminder, Stevens Funds is to they're used to treat private lands that are adjacent to Forest Service lands.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we go into our local fire safe updates. Black Mountain, no. Butte Valley.
Butte Valley, that would be the break project that Jen mentioned earlier. We're rolling that out. We're getting landowners signed up, and hopefully we'll have some contractors in there, and they're going to clear up to 300 feet on either side of the road for ingress and egress, and along Forest Service or next to Forest Service projects that are already in progress. So that's it.
Okay, Copco, Dunsmuir.
Linda's not here, but we've been working with Vestra to complete a CEQA, and they've given us a draft CEQA just this past week, and Shasta Valley RCD has agreed to be the lead agency. No, I take that back. That's a different one. The CAL FIRE will be the lead agency on that one. So we're getting close. We're getting close to having that CEQA in place, and then we'll be looking at some fuel reduction in part of those areas or some of those areas covered by that CEQA. Now, Alex is also doing some work near Dunsmuir, and he might have something to say.
Alex, I think she just put you on the spot.
Yeah, I did. I don't know whether he's still there or not.
Yeah, sorry. I was getting a snap. Yeah, we have in Mount Shasta and Dunsmuir, we have a FEMA Cal OES project that we're going to implement and kind of align with the work that Shasta Valley RCD is doing and the Fire Safe Council is doing. So McConnell Foundation is a philanthropic organization, doesn't want to be the face of wildfire resiliency in the county, of course. We just want to support work of community-based organizations. So yeah, the work the Fire Safe Council is doing, we're aligning our work with them.
All right.
Okay. Greater Weed.
Well, we got a little bit of funding from Rain Rock from the event that we did last year, and we're including the City of Weed, all the mill fire footprint. So we'll be getting together next week with the City of Weed and Lake Shastina Fire Safe Council, discussing where we're going to put that 35,000 that we made off of that outreach, which we're very grateful for. And then we've also got a grant in to develop a CWPP for the Weed area. We haven't heard back yet from CAL FIRE on that, but we're hopeful that we can do some planning there for those folks. And nothing has ever been done as far as planning on our behalf for that area. So that's all for Weed.
Hammond Ranch.
No new news from them.
Is it
Is
Mariska?
Mariska still on
Yeah.
here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know that I have any news to share. I'm pretty new to the board and just learning. I don't even know what a CEQA is, to be honest. What is a CEQA?
Oh, California Environmental Quality Act. It's a planning document which looks at all of the environmental needs for an area, and then it's accelerated through CAL FIRE or a lead agency and on to the California Board of Forestry to approve, and that's what a CEQA is.
Oh, thanks. I'm
Mariska,
sorry, I meant to put my camera on, sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's the states. It's gosh, I must be losing it here. It's like this. The federal has NEPA, and the state have CEQA for
Got it.
environmental impacts on projects.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of people are doing a lot of things. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
try to
thing-
bridge the gap for you a little bit, Mariska, because it is
I think Hammond Ranch
high
used
level.
to have a little group, but
Well, and there was a woman, I'm forgetting her name. She came on probably almost a year ago, who she was part of the board at Hammond Ranch and was wanting to try to get something going. And I've got a few friends that live out there, and so, you know, what we're trying to really try to facilitate and amplify in these communities like yours is getting Firewise communities started, which can, you know, hopefully help people get reduction on their premium rates, or at the very least not get dropped, or hope, you know, get off the fare plan if that's, you know, what they're on. And there's a lot of success stories with that. And, you know, you also can, you know, have opportunities to get some micro grants as a Firewise community to do, you know, evacuation routes, or, you know, the signage for folks for evacuation and all that. So yeah, so we, you know, we want to try to help groups like you and as a leader of your community and your HOA and community to do that. So so if you want to put your information, or I'll put my information in the chat.
Yeah.
Get in touch because that's definitely
Yeah.
you want
and I'll talk to you more about how to get involved with that Firewise community. Maybe get a few more people on board.
Yeah, I got a couple friends I can call up and
Perfect.
Voluntel them they're coming to a meeting.
I'll put my email in as well, or I'll check. Thank you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, Mike, you're on for Happy Camp.
Hey, everybody. Mike Hentz. I work with the Mid-Klamath Watershed Council. All right, so I'll also talk for the Orleans Somes Bar Fire Safe Council, so we can skip that one a little bit. We've been hiring folks, and we had a winter furlough, and they're back up and running. So we hired 3 new full-time positions as forestry techs on our brushing and Fire Safe Council crews. 2 more hires down river. We recently purchased a new office in Happy Camp, which is amazing. We really needed the space. We're working pretty closely with the Creek Tribe on some projects that are up and coming. One is a cross-boundary burn with the Klamath National Forest. It's kind of in the planning stage, but would be one of our first cross-boundary burns from private land to public land in a really strategic, amazing location. And It's funny you talk about CEQA. We talk about the color of money. So on the ground, if we are lucky enough to get, let's say, a CAL FIRE grant, to spend those monies to do work, we have to make sure that our whole CEQA compliance is together. That's cultural surveys, biological surveys, botany. It's quite a process, and the same for federal money for NEPA. My personal update is on my rain gauge. I keep a pretty good rain gauge, 46.7 inches of rain, plus 2 inches of what I consider snow water equivalent from 20 inches of snow a week and a half ago. So we may be around 48, 49 inches of precipitation in our area, which is quite good, actually. I'm not sure what the snowpack measures locally in the Sierra. It's near 100%, but everything's great, and we are finally getting spring weather, and we're all really busy. So thanks so much, everybody. It's a kind of a long meeting late at night, but I'm really always happy to be here when I can make it.
And that's congratulations on getting office space. I know that's a biggie.
It turns out that there's a lot of work going on at McWick, fisheries, plants, our fire and forestry program. So we really needed it. Environmental education as well. So
good job. Thanks. All right. Horse Creek, Juniper Flat. I know Marjorie's here.
I'm here. Woo-hoo. Took me over an hour to get in. I don't know, stuff going on my computer. Well, for those who are not familiar with our project, I'll do a brief description. Starting in 2020, okay, Juniper Flat Fire Safe Council served 36 square mile, a 36 square mile area. Oh, let me put this stupid dog out. I'm sorry, this is terrible. I can't believe somebody's about to pull your car on my property. Anyway, when I wrote the grant, we were looking for the area where the risk was the most intense and we could do the most good. Sweeping changes in the small areas, what they told me they wanted. So we focused on the Mount Shasta Vista subdivision. There's 65 miles of road. And what we ended up doing on this one was we designated an evacuation route. We have removed all the junipers and the dead and dying pines and the brush on about 24 miles out of the 65 miles. That's our evacuation route. We put in 65 evacuation signs. We finished this morning. The fuel reduction contractors finished this morning.
Good job.
Deadline was Friday. Yeah, this project's been quite a roller coaster. Lots of side issues, fires and COVID and stuff. It's been something, but we did get it done, and it looks really good. Steve Wilson with CAL FIRE was out here yesterday. He seems pleased. They did a great job, and I think it's going to make a big difference. It's not. We did also some private parcels. The response to that was disappointing, and I thought it was terrible, and I was blaming our community. But it turns out we actually did better here than some other communities. Apparently, everywhere there is a resistance to letting people come on your property and do stuff. So now I'm kind of pleased with myself because we did pretty good, and I think we probably have a more challenging situation here than most communities. So pleased with that, and yeah, I just don't know how to wake up in the morning and not have to do this. So I'm already working on the quarterly report, final report. I'll be reporting to the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County and the Shasta Vista Property Owners Association. I got another article to write, so next month is going to be very busy. I did submit another grant proposal to CAL FIRE to continue the work. We have 41 miles of roads where we have done nothing. We'd like to do the same thing there. Take away the vegetation, remove the fuels from alongside the road, and put in evacuation. really appreciate everyone's support and help and patience with me. I get real wound up sometimes. This is very, it's when we really care about what we're doing, that's what happens. So.
Just a little shout out to CAL FIRE. This grant was from them, and they have walked alongside us where there's been many issues, and they've been very understanding and helpful. And I think Margie has appreciated them too. And Margie's done an awesome job. She's worked really hard in a very extenuating circumstances with the cultural differences that go on out there. So this is congratulations, Margie.
Yes. Yeah, Campfire has been absolutely awesome. And so has Giselle Nova and Fire Safe Council Siskiyou County. They're our fiscal sponsor. Could not have done anything without them. And this was my first big fire grant, and I really had a lot to learn. And I learned a lot. And so forward, and if we get the next one, it'll be a lot easier for all of us. Thanks to everybody.
Great job, Marjorie.
Yes, and it's so good to see you. We've missed you. And Margie even hammered this grant out with major knee replacement surgery. So she's superwoman, and we've missed you. It's great to see you back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
All right, thank you. Okay, Klamath River, Lake Shastina.
Lake Shastina, we're working on a vegetation treatment plan, VTP. It's like a CEQA, only it's more far-reaching. We switched midstream on the advisement of CAL FIRE. And so we have engaged with Shasta Valley RCD, who will be our lead agency and will be helping out on this. Vestra's writing it. And we're making some progress. This will be a good thing for them if you want to know more. Get in touch. That's it.
Okay, we'll move on to McLeod. Mount Shasta.
Mount Shasta, we're still working on Old Stage Road project. We've got about 70 acres done. I'd like to get 100, so we're working on another 30. There's people that want it done. We've got to get our contractor. Now that Margie's done with one, he can come and finish up on Old Stage. So anyway, we've got good things going on there. And the Shasta Valley RCD has a grant similar to ours as far as doing defensible space. It's from FEMA through OES, and they've done several homes already on the west side. But I think Shasta Valley RCD is not here. Hope they don't mind me reporting that for them. End of story.
Thanks. Quartz Valley, don't believe they're here tonight. Santa River, Syad, and Wairika area. So, and I wanted to make sure I gave our core partners a chance to talk. I know Matt's been pretty quiet tonight, and make sure we're covering everything we need to core.
Hi, everybody.
Matt,
Go ahead, Nina.
No, I just want to make sure you're on the call. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, we're looking forward to getting started. I believe you and Giselle met with Josh, who I believe we're bringing on as the program manager up there. He lives in Wairika, and he's great. So the plan is, as long as all the administrative stuff with him goes through, the plan is to start him on April 1st, which would mean you'll probably, I'm not going to turn my camera on because you'll probably see my face at some point next month. So I will, I think the plan is once he's brought on board, Nina and I will probably head up and do, training with him and do some fireside training with y'all and get everything going.
Great, good. I can give Fireside then the at least approximate time frames now with that April 1st. So that's good. Thanks, Matt.
I think that's all we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And then if I missed anybody or anybody has anything else to say before we conclude for the night?
Well, I was just gonna say, so Nina, are we still putting it out there to folks that we are trying to pull people in to apply for the outreach coordinator position through CORE.
That is
That is
correct.
still empty, and if anyone knows anyone that would be a good community outreach coordinator, I put it out to a few folks that I thought would be
Matt,
good
can you grab
candidates.
the link for that one again, just to put it in this chat?
Yep,
The
I will
link for
throw it in the
program
chat right
coordinator.
now. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, so the program coordinator position is still open. And, you know, the good thing is, you know, if we can't find somebody by the time, you know, our candidate is on board, then maybe they can help as well with the recruiting process, just, you know, by way of just knowing, you know, in networks. But yes, Matt's going to put it in the chat so that you all have it as well. But it is the program coordinator, which is outreach coordinator, you know, all of those things.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.
And Annie had her hand up, and I see you put some information in the chat.
I did. This is my first meeting with you guys. Annie Barber with United Policyholders. We are not an insurance company. We just have a crappy name. We've been around for 33 years, helping people navigate their insurance after disaster, advocating for consumers, and and we do a lot of preparedness. We have a WRAP meeting, which stands for Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection, once a month. We usually have about 60 or 70 people. We do presentations. We have links to other FireWise communities, a lot of fire captains on the meeting who share on our website grants that they've gotten, tactics that have worked for them. You know, we have people like the IBHS who comes and works with us doing presentations. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as an introduction to what we do. I'm working in the McKinney Fire and the Mill Fire. I sit on the long-term recovery groups. So I'm familiar with Brian, not too many others of you though. And, that's what we have to offer.
Well, that's great, Annie. If I can, I will do my best to attend that meeting you have going. And welcome. I'm glad to have you on board with us.
Thank you.
And would you like to be a guest speaker at our next
At
meeting?
the next one? I would. How often do you guys meet?
Every month. Same second Wednesday of every month at 5:30.
I would be happy to.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, and Siskiyou Media Council, did you have something you'd like to share?
I sure would. I just wanted to say thanks for everybody for, I enjoy listening in on this. I just wanted to kind of give everybody what's going on with us. The FCC, I think the last time I talked about 6 stations or licenses being approved for low power FM radio stations for community radio. And we've had 2 more approved. So right now the total 8 is Dunsmuir, Happy Camp, Hornbrook, McLeod, Mount Shasta, Syed, and Weed. And we're waiting on Orleans, Forks of Salmon, Tule Lake, and Wairika. We're already starting the process of building out those radio stations. Looks like Hornbrook is biting at the bit. They're trying to get their radio station up as quick as they can. So that's a way to get information out to that local community right there. They will always be looking for content. We're always looking for content. So, I mean, I hear all this wonderful stuff about videos or other things like that. If you have a source that has anything to do with preparation, getting ready for fire season or whatever season, you know, whatever that kind of, we will show those videos on our television stations. We also, if you have any short videos under 3 minutes, PSAs, things like that, slides, if you have RSS feeds or XML feeds, we can show those on our 24/7 bulletin board. And that 24/7 bulletin board can be shared on your websites so that, you know, that when people come there, they can always look at that. So right now we're trying to stand that 24/7 bulletin board up, which means that the 2 organizations that right now that I've been really engaging with is this organization here and VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. which Annie, I think you may be interested in wanting to be in attending that. So I
I'm
can,
in all of those. Thank
okay,
you.
great,
Yeah.
super. And so the thing is that we can of all these organizations that have all this information, we're not trying to say that we're going to be the end all and be all, but we can consolidate that and then have the Fire Safe Council have a whole bunch of information that rolls through this bulletin board on a regular basis that's more perpetual. And that way that people don't have to go to multiple different locations, but if you can, whatever you want to send us, we can get it up there and run it and have people see this all the time. Like anything that any type of mitigation type stuff that you're doing, we can put it up there that it just continually rolls through that as we're working that. So if, I know that I'm working with somebody from the Fire Safe Council, so we'll discuss about how to get your information up on that bulletin board and how to share that across the county. But that's just one way. That's just another way of sharing information so that you don't have to go to multiple sites. You can be at one location.
Great. I think Patty Grantham with the Prescribed Burn Association would be a good contact for you too.
Okay, great. That would be great. Anybody that has anything that's always updating their information. Well, and like I said, we can be able to upload it, run it, and it just will continue to run through that entire process. And it'll be out there on the web and we can control the narrative. We don't have to wait on an algorithm from Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So anyway.
Great.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So I'll have to get clearance from Butte County Fire Safe Council, but I mentioned to you that we've got our new mascot wildfire ready raccoon that we cloned, from the Butte County Fire Safe Council. We're the first county in California that's gotten ready, besides the original in Butte County, and they have created a bunch of really awesome, well, they have the Wildfire Ready rap song that's really great. That's a parody of Gangster's Paradise about wildfire preparedness. That's awesome. But they have a bunch, they just last year, the Wildfire Ready rap song is pretty old. It's at least, I don't know, 10, 15 years old, but it's really great. And they have a new series of, like 1 minute clips that are like cartoons, they're Wildfire Ready raccoon cartoons that are, really aimed at kind of kids, but so that, I don't know if that's the kind of content.
No, right. Anything, longer formats for the television station, but the PSAs will also do fill-ins and stuff like that. We're just trying to get this. We have this new equipment. We're here ready to go for it. It's just that we're trying to find more and more people to provide content for it, because I'm tired of showing Wairika in 1951. So
yeah, and they
really would like.
we're in the process of trying, getting our ducks in a row to increase our capacity and hire a media specialist, because it's really a gap in our organization that neither Giselle and I are really able to fill. And so that's really something we have as a priority for this next year for our countywide Fire Safe Council, and Ready Raccoon is obviously a great tool for that. And we've got Cal Fire's Captain Cal, and of course Smokey Bear, and the Butte County Fire Safe Council does a really great job, even just with very mediocre iPhone videos with Ready Raccoon out there with the rake and doing just little clips, little PSAs, so we would like to definitely hopefully get
great
up our game.
The cool thing is that, and the nice thing about this purchase that we had for the new equipment and stuff is we bought 5 years worth of tech support and training, which means that anybody that wants to learn how to program or be able to get their content up, we can provide access, load it up, and then we can actually you can create your own sequence of events, and then we'll publish it for you. So we're just scratching the surface on being able to provide media for the county.
So cool. It's really exciting.
Okay. And that's it. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'll be really helpful. Okay. The only thing I just was reminded of is that For those of you who use Watch Duty, they've done huge upgrades. They're expanded off out of California now into Texas and some other our neighboring states into Oregon and in the Grants Pass area. And they've upgraded with and their mapping process too. So if you haven't looked at Watch Duty since last year or haven't added the app, I recommend highly that you do that. It's been they're doing some really big things right now. So just wanted to remind people of that. And our next meeting will be April 10th at 5:30 p.m. right here in the comfort of your living room. So please join us. Thanks for staying with us tonight, even though we had another long meeting. Had a lot of great information and discussion.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you attending.
Although I didn't get to see your faces.
And I'm going to add on to the Watch Duty. I personally am a fire survivor from 2017. And Watch Duty is the best app that's out there. It's more effective than emergency alerts I live in Sonoma County. It's much more effective than that. I actually just introduced John Mills, who is one of the creators, to Maui and got him in there because, quite frankly, if Watch Duty had been active when their fire hit, people were hunkered in their homes because they were staying away from the hurricane force winds. And they would have known long before their power went out or their internet that there was a fire to be concerned about. I can't rave about it enough, quite frankly.
I agree with you, Annie. It's a great program and it's all volunteer too. So it's really good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
And Giselle?